Mob TV.
I want to amplify that we believe that there's a possibility that the international community can be brought to bear, the UN, from the Declaration of Human Rights all the way through. This is a very, very serious matter. There's something that I didn't mention and I hesitate to mention because I am not Nigerian, although I think Dr. Lloyd has bestowed upon me the honorary title of Nigerian man. And we had a conversation. It wasn't heated, but he acted like he was going to revoke my Nigerian man credentials, causing my 13-year-old son, who was in the car with me, to be very distraught. He said, "Dad, you have to stay a Nigerian man." But talking about children, when I was a little boy, when I was 7 years old, growing up in the middle of nowhere, Florida, in a swamp, closest town was 30 miles away. The first thing that happened in the world that brought to bear to me that maybe things weren't always right, maybe things weren't always good, wasn't the Vietnam War. Because I was in the South. It was correct and just, and we were the warriors. It was the Biafra War. And I remember very distinctly thinking, this just isn't right. This isn't right. This is a great people. It is a great nation. There was a country. And then later when I learned, something most people don't know, that there is a plausible argument that democracy began in Igbo land. The very first written constitution on this planet was written by the Igbo people. The very first democracy that involved self-governance, that worked for everybody, not just the Greek wealthy, but everybody, was in Igbo land. And the very first democracy that permitted women leaders was in Igbo land. The West, Europe, we were still in the Dark Ages. And yet the Igbo had figured out a way to have a just and meaningful government and a just and meaningful society and due process and fairness. And to this day, you see a great many Igbo leaders that are women. So it is my honor to have been able to work with the Igbo community. We are contemplating preparing an appeal to the United States Supreme Court related to the senseless slaughter and what we believe to be the genocide of the Igbo people. To bring this full circle, that has been going on since 2016, overseen by the APC. It's not ironic, it's not a coincidence, that the only APC governor in Igbo land is the one the Supreme Court just forced upon them. Not ironic, not a coincidence. Nigeria has just been placed with a visa ban, as everyone knows. That's not the United States picking on Nigeria. That is the United States seeing Nigeria, the Nigeria that exists now. Not the historic Nigeria, not the hopes of 1960, not the hopes of Iransi, not the hopes of the three founders, not the hopes back to the 900s. That's what Nigeria has become. And unless it gets better, it of course is going to get worse. It cannot get better unless the judiciary can be a bulwark against the corruption, against the senseless slaughter, the genocide, the tribal hatred, the regional issues of one part of the country gets to have the oil, one part of the country gets to grow the food, the other part of the country gets to have the finance and the business, and then the rest of the country gets to have the guns and the power and tells the rest of the country what to do or else they will perish. That's just the start. And the visa ban is just a start. If you read President Trump's words, compared to what he said about the other nations, it was as harsh or harsher than any other nation. He did not write this, or this wasn't written as though it were addressed to a strategic and historic ally. He was tougher on Nigeria in some regards than he was on the Sudan. And Sudan, who has been on the terrorist list for a long time, rightly or wrongly, that's where Osama bin Laden lived. That's where Al-Qaeda was born and nourished and nurtured. And yet, if you look at the visa ban for people from the Sudan, it is hopeful. You can get off of this. In Nigeria, it is far more stern. So the people of Nigeria need to understand this. And the Supreme Court needs to understand. They have an opportunity to correct a wrong. And it is a wrong that is so blatant and so apparent that it is almost the stuff of comedy. but it's gravely serious. It is very, very serious. That's really all that I think we have. We would probably like to open the floor to some questions. We have a handheld microphone if anyone would like to ask any questions. Do you have any questions? Yes. Here.
Mob TV.